It's 6:02. The August 6th meeting of the Building and Standards Commission is now in session. The work session is now in session.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, there is a quorum present in the workroom, correct?
Yes, we have a quorum present in the workroom. Thank you. This meeting of Building and Standards is now in order of work session. We will start with a roll call tonight. Satish Jayaraman.
Yes.
Okay, Shane Jones.
Yep.
Kevin Winkler. Savio Chaco.
Here.
Michael Ludden. Casey Smith. And I'm here. Okay. First order of business is to begin work session identifying item 2 of the agenda. So I'll turn over the work session to Steve Schubert, Chief Building Official. Steve, identify yourself for the record, please.
Thank you, Chairman LeBreau. My name is Steve Schubert, the Chief Building Official for the City of Coppell. Tonight, I am also joined by members of city staff. We have Matthew Steer, who is our Development Service Administrator. And we have Jacqueline Nevins, who is our Secretary and helps keeps us functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's it. Anything?
If you guys are ready, then we can go straight to the presentation.
Yes.
Let's go straight to the presentation.
Well, as I stated, I'm Steve Schubert, Chief Building Official for the City of Coppell. I'm presenting to you the proposed adoption of the 2026 National Electrical Code. We refer to it as the NEC. The adoption of the 2026 National Electrical Code is proposed for the approval of Building Standards Commission, which in turn you guys will be making a motion to recommend it to move forward to City Council for City Council's review and approval. Real quick, again, every 3 years, a whole new code book comes out. Next edition will be the 2029 National Electrical Code, which they actually are already in the process of writing that up.
And that's it?
No, great, got a whole presentation.
I like the way he's thinking.
So, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation is over all licensure for electricians in the state. Part and parcel of what they function off of is the Texas Occupations Code, specifically Chapter 1305, I believe, which is for licensed electricians. Under Title 8, Chapter 1305.101, it requires the Executive Director of the TDLR to adopt the latest version of the NEC as it becomes available. Their year starts on September 1st. So effective September 1st of this year, the state is going to be enforcing the 2026 National Electrical Code. And our adoption not only brings us in alignment with the state, but it also provides us a step up for when we get audited by the ISO. The ISO is an insurance rating company, and they rate us based on how knowledgeable we are, how many certifications we have, and how recent our code adoptions are. The higher we rate, the lower insurance rates our residents pay, and that's for residential or commercial properties. So part of all of this is a reminder that what I'm proposing to you is my amendments to the electrical codes. You guys are not here to review the electrical codes. You know, in order to get an internship and reach the point where you have enough knowledge about the National Electrical Code to understand everything about it, that's a couple of years. So that's my job. My job is to know and understand the codes. If I bring a proposal to you all for amending a section of the code, whether it's the electrical or the building code, whatever it is, then I'll present to you guys the data that you guys need for that particular portion in order to make an educated decision. Our current practices, of course, we're currently underneath the 2023 National Electrical Code, same as the state. When going from code edition to code edition, there are always changes. It changes from the 23 to 26. Overall, there's over 1,100 changes for those two codes. I chose to steal information from a electrical contract and construction and maintenance magazine. It's written by Mike Holt. Mike Holt, for people who aren't familiar with him, he is, in his opinion, God's gift to electrical work. A buddy of mine who is a master electrician as well as a building official, the way he likes to phrase it is, everything that Mike Holt says is the National Electrical Code according to Mike Holt. Not exactly what the code says, but Mike Holt is absolutely an authority on electrical stuff. If you ever have any questions about electrical stuff, you can always look at Mike Holt's website. He's published hundreds and hundreds of books. He's on multiple panels. He writes magazine articles all the time. He is highly knowledgeable in this. And because of that, I chose to steal from his magazine article in order to give you guys just a quick idea of some of the different changes. This one is a good example. No matter what, when you have a piece of equipment that's being connected to an electrical system, it has to be listed. Listed means that it's gone through a nationally recognized testing laboratory. Something like UL or Intertech. It is somebody who is a nationally recognized testing laboratory that has put it through a series of tests to make sure that it does meet minimum safety requirements. Sometimes the manufacturer's installation methods conflict with the building codes. So if the manufacturer's installation method for this piece of equipment directly conflicts with the National Electrical Code, no matter what, the most restrictive would prevail. So if the manufacturer's installation method conflicts, then we would go with the electrical code. If the electrical code conflicts with the mechanical or the manufacturer's installation method, we defer to the manufacturer. It just depends on which one's more restrictive, and that's our way of making sure that it meets minimum safety standards. One of the hardest issues for an inspector is nobody has the installation manuals when we go out and do our inspections. Well, nowadays, just about every manufacturer has quick little QR codes on the side of their equipment. We can scan it with our phones, pull it up, take a quick look at whether or not it's installed appropriately. This particular one is split up electrical services. You can see all the different colored conductors coming through there, and that just distributes the electrical throughout the building. Yes, sir.
Question, does the code itself require the QR codes?
No, it does not, but it does require the manufacturer's instructions be available. So if an installer leaves it out, but the QR code is there, then we have an automatic way to be able to scan it. Otherwise, it's unfortunately, it's a failed inspection.
When they come in and put in new doobie-doobie on my pool equipment, they left the manual there.
Oh, nice.
I assume it's for the inspector to look at, not for me.
Well, it should actually be both, because it's your job to maintain that equipment unless you choose to pay them the monthly fee for them to come out and do it.
I understand, but I was wondering why they do that now, and so that answers the question.
Yep, the inspector should always be aware of what the manufacturer's installation method is for any equipment. That's true for your water heater, your HVAC system. Every single manufacturer of any piece of equipment has different ways of doing it than everybody else.
So the change there really is that the manual is not required because the QR codes make it easier to access the information?
It has to be there in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
And if, let's say they do have the QR code available on the side of the equipment, and the inspector goes out and fails the inspection because the installation manual wasn't available, well, now the electrician goes, yeah, what is it? It's right here on this side, right here on this sticker. All you had to do is scan the sticker and you have the instructions.
So the change is really just kind of updating to the availability of the information, makes it a smoother process.
Right, as well as identifying the fact that if there is a conflict between the manual and the National Electrical Code, the most restrictive will prevail. This is switchgear. Switchgear primarily you'll run into stuff like this at like schools, large industrial installations. This is dealing with high voltage. Mike Holt puts in here the very bottom paragraph, the reason the arc flash label is not required, or sorry, not that one, the one right above it, author's comment. An arc flash event can reach temperatures of 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which turns metal from a solid to gas vapors. This releases molten shrapnel that pierces the skin, causing severe burns or even death. So the requirement, he's scratched out the rated 1,000 amp or more. It's actually still in there. But what it does is it has changed the format for those warning labels so that the maintenance personnel at the school or that industrial installation have a more readily available identification of how dangerous the panel they're about to remove potentially is. Residential structures, like it says in the last paragraph, you'll never see these on somebody's house because nobody's house should be running that kind of voltage. If they are, well, that's going to be a different issue. That's a home operated business and they probably have some heavy equipment going, and I'm not going to get involved in that right now. One of the most expensive changes going into the 2023 National Electrical Code was for any home with a kitchen island or a peninsula could not have side-mounted receptacles. They had to be pop-ups. There's a lot of conjecture throughout the industry that that was being driven by the manufacturers of the pop-up receptacles. They are exceedingly expensive. Go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you're looking at a regular receptacle for a regular wall mount, what have you, you're looking at anywhere between $5 and $15 depending on how expensive you want to go. You start looking at those pop-ups usually start at about $85. They are not cheap. Your average payout for a pop-up receptacle is about $180. But underneath the 2026, they are going to allow side-mounted receptacles once again, but not within 24 inches of that countertop. So the one that they have in the image, you couldn't have a receptacle there. If it was below that line down in the blue space, it could be there.
So it fills the wall space requirement, not a countertop requirement.
Yep. Well, the main fear was small children being able to grab onto cords and be able to pull down like a hot crock pot, piece of appliance, what have you. This doesn't really change that.
So it makes
But-
it easier?
In my opinion, yes,
I
but,
have a question,
yes.
because I'm kind of into business. With peninsulas and islands, if you were to put a backsplash on one, then you could have your countertop receptacles every 2 feet?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes. If you look at the infographic that's in the 2023 National Electrical Code for dwelling units, it actually does have that graphic on there. It shows a island with the backsplash and kind of a small bar top, and it identifies the receptacles being there on that backsplash.
Yeah, that elimination started a lot of trouble with my clients.
And me too, yes. I believe the entire industry will be happy that they're going back to this. Yes.
So this change will only apply to new permits issued after September 1st?
So at a state level, yes. At a local level, again, if for whatever reason we decide that we're not going to adopt the 2026 National Electrical Code, that we're going to stick with the 2023 National Electrical Code, they won't be able to do this. They'll have to stick with the pop-ups because we have to go with the most restrictive. And having pop-up only would be the most restrictive. But if we do move forward with the adoption, once it's approved by council, in theory, we would move forward with this on September 1st, and yes, any permit applied for after the effective date would adhere to this code, not the current code.
So today's world is pop-up only.
Yep.
This one allows you to put it on the side.
Yep.
Okay.
But you still have a requirement for receptacle locations, distances. This one's utilizing a peninsula, so this is a bit of a cheat. You have these receptacles up here at the end of the peninsula where the wall is. So they have required receptacles on here already. This one, they can bypass as being a required receptacle simply because they've got those up there. So it's a bit of a game. This one over here, I guarantee you there's going to be a receptacle on this side of the peninsula because they're too far away from that wall. So there's going to be more receptacles on this side. So long as it is, again, greater than 24 inches down from the countertop, they can have that.
And this, so if you buy or sell your house, this doesn't really apply because it was
No.
already in place.
No, so when you go to sell a home or you're purchasing a home, it's required to be inspected by a licensed Texas Real Estate Commission inspector. They have set criteria by state law that they have to adhere to. They have their own licensing requirements, their own exam requirements, and their own requirements for what they're supposed to be looking at on a home. And this gentleman right here can expound on that much better than I can.
Well, basically what it is, we have rules for purchasing, but we're not code inspectors. So for example, if it was okay when the house was built, it's okay. What we're required to do is required to let our buyer know it doesn't meet current requirements.
Okay.
And you might want to upgrade it, but it's, as long as this hasn't been disturbed since it was put in, it's fine.
And then also, since I'm newer to the committee, some time ago in Coppell, there was talk about every time a rental house flipped tenants, that they had to bring it up to code. Did that ever?
Well, that's a different issue. That's our code enforcement team, and what they do is rental inspections, and they have their own set criteria for rentals. So it's not like you have to bring everything up to current building codes. You have to bring it up to current occupancy codes, which would be through our code enforcement and the property maintenance requirements.
It wouldn't require a retrofit.
Okay.
Good example, water heaters. You know, code changes every 3 years. Your water heater does not have to be upgraded every 3 years. But when your water heater is ready to be replaced, and it has to be replaced, then it has to meet current codes.
Would it also include remodeling? If you remodeled your kitchen, then you would have to bring it up to current
Yep.
code, right?
Everything has to be maintained according to the codes that were in place at the time of original installation. When it can no longer be maintained and it has to be replaced, that's when it has to meet current requirements.
But in that instance, if you pull a permit, isn't that the key? If you pull a permit, it's got to be brought to code. If you're,
Generally speaking.
The work that you're doing has to be.
If the scope of work you're doing is regulated by the codes, then it has to be permitted and inspected.
I got it, okay.
And the date that you pulled the permit is
That
the
locks
date
everything in.
that applies, or that sets the date of which codes applied.
Exactly, whenever you apply for it. And that's why it's really, really, really important to not let a permit expire. I've got plenty of locations where they pulled a permit when we were still underneath the 2015 codes. Well, they let those permits expire. They never finished them out. Now they need to finish them out, and they're having to reapply underneath the 2024 codes. So they're having to take a structure that's already built underneath the 2015 codes and redo it to meet the 2024 requirements. So that's why you never, ever, ever let a permit expire. We exist here to provide help. If you run into hurdles with a project or something, and you need an extension, all you have to do is email me and say, hey, Steve, I need more time. I've got this going on. I haven't been able to close out my project. It expires in 30 days. And I will say, well, fantastic, here you go. I've extended for another 180 days. Because that's my limit. That's as far in the future as I can go is 180 days. But there's really no limit to how many times I can extend a permit.
Does this rule still apply if there's cabinetry on this side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it can't be above the cabinetry?
Not underneath current codes. If it's already there and it met the codes at the time that it was installed, we're good with it.
Yeah.
If this would be a complete remodel or ground up construction, something where you've taken out what was previously existing and you're replacing it, then it has to meet this.
And this will not, just to clarify, this is not gonna affect when you have overhead cabinets with power strips on there, that doesn't affect that at all.
No, it does not. Just hopefully those power strips are installed properly. Unfortunately, I've seen quite a few that.
Sentai is not up
Just
to code.
You know, when I first came over to the government sector from the private sector, I'm going out on an inspection with one of the senior inspectors, and I'm like, but Mark, what about that? And he's like, don't look at it. What about that? Don't look at it. We're here for that. Right there. Stop looking everywhere else. Put your blinders on. We are here for that.
Focus on that.
Yes, yes. So hence the phrase inspector blinders. So, you know, my wife hates it. We go out somewhere, the airport's the worst one. Going through like Chicago O'Hare, sitting in a restaurant eating, going, can't do that, that's illegal.
I do that.
Need an engineer to look at that, that doesn't look like that's gonna hold much longer. Yeah. So this is the portion that really is what you guys are here for. These are the proposed changes to the actual ordinance itself. Our ordinance, portions of it have been here for a while. I've changed some portions when we adopted the 2023 codes, and I'm trying to finish up updating our ordinance with this change. Starting out, of course, the very first section, all I'm doing is changing out the reference to the 2023 codes to the 2026. Moving on from there, we have A, enforcement, B, supervision. Neither of those have changed. However, I have gotten rid of the section C, intention. This code is not intended as a design specification or an instruction manual for untrained persons. I don't see why that was in there. That doesn't serve really any purpose, and that's not really anything that we dictate. And then in relation to other international standards, I'm proposing to have that removed as well. The requirements in this code address the fundamental principles of protection for safety contained in Section 131 of the International Electrotechnical Commission Standards 60364-1, electrical installations of buildings. That has not been in print since 1947.
Cool.
So. Now, of course, with getting rid of sections and redoing it, what was Section E is now Section C. Really, the verbiage here has not changed a whole lot, except I got rid of the references to electrical inspector, because we don't employ electrical inspectors. We don't have an electrical inspector, we don't have a plumbing inspector, we have combination inspectors. You got one person come out looking at the entire scope of work. Reference to electrical inspector, or inspector/electrical inspector, that just quantifies that inspector and electrical inspector in this code shall mean the chief building official or designee authorized to perform inspections, because that's my job. Right of entry. I've streamlined this section, but for the most part, it reads just about the same. I did get rid of the very ending paragraph simply because the first paragraph already ends in, if entry is refused, the chief building official or designee shall have recourse to the remedies provided by law to secure entry. There's absolutely no reason for us to quantify that the chief building official is going to go for a warrant. It's already stated that we're going to have recourse provided by law. So that was extremely redundant.
What is a scenario where someone might be denied entry? Like usually a building inspector is, you're scheduling someone to come actually do the inspection for you. Are there surprise inspections? Or?
No. So we get refused inspections a lot. The contractor, by law, and they have a permit, or especially with the licensed guys, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors, they have a state license that's in jeopardy if they don't comply with local requirements. So most frequently it's mechanical contractors. We won't be able to gain entry because the resident doesn't want us in their home. If it's a significant scope of work, something that we feel potentially causes a life safety risk, immediate life safety risk, such as like a gas repipe, then yes, I am going to seek some form of legal remedy to be able to gain access to ensure that that gas system is not going to blow up that structure.
So if there's an immediate danger or safety issue?
No.
Okay.
Generally speaking, the only times I go for warrants is when I'm going to identify a structure as dilapidated and substandard. Those are the ones I've only ever really gone out on a warrant on. To this day, luckily, I have not had to go out and do a warrant just for a regular inspection. Stop work orders. This verbiage we've actually taken basically from the building codes. The building codes themselves, anything put out by the International Code Council, all reads a certain way. That verbiage is not part of the National Electrical Code because the National Electrical Code is not put out by the International Code Council. It's put out by the National Fire Prevention Agency. So the NFPA has their own way of verbing things, and we're putting this in order to make it align with the building codes better, basically. And authority to disconnect utilities and emergencies. This is part and parcel of everything that we do. I did get rid of a reference in here, electric connection per section 85-6B, because section 85-6B does not exist anymore. That has not been in existence in about 40 years. And then adding in, notify the serving utility, the owner or occupant of the building, structure or building service equipment in writing of such disconnection immediately thereafter. That's already verbed in there, so. And the authority to condemn electrical systems and equipment. Unfortunately, this is actually a very important part of what we do. We go out and we will frequently find work that is being performed without benefit of permits or inspections, and we will notate that there are electrical hazards on that site. I've gone out on ones where there was actually active arcing events, And yeah, we contacted the purveyor and had them yank the meter immediately. And then the remedy to that is connection after order to disconnect. Verb is the exact same, basically just allowing me to reconnect power afterwards. It's a little redundant to have it in there because it already mentions what it takes for somebody to be able to get power in the first place. But this, in a hard situation, actually is beneficial for us to have it in our ordinance.
So how would you find a situation where that's an occurrence, unless they're calling for inspection? You're not manually looking at it.
No, usually somebody is more than happy to contact us and let us know that something is going on in a certain location, and we'll go over to follow through on a complaint and identify the work's being done.
Okay.
That's usually how that works. The liability portion of it, this is indemnity for us from being sued directly for anything that we are truly doing on behalf of our job. Anything that we are doing without malice or anything like that. And then appeals. This is where you guys come in. Any person, firm, or corporation may file an appeal through the Building Inspections Department for the Building and Standards Commission to review any decisions made by the building official, provided that such appeal is made in writing within 5 days of receiving the notification, all that stuff. So, this hasn't happened yet. But let's say an electrical contractor disagrees with me on my interpretation of the National Electrical Code. I welcome anybody to contact me and say, Steve, you know, I understand that you're reading it this way, but take a look at it from this lens. I'm more than happy to discuss it with somebody. But after a debate, if at the end of the day I'm like, no, dude, I just can't get there from here. You know, I understand what you're trying to say, but I completely disagree with you. This is my determination of what the National Electrical Code means by this section. Well, they have the availability to appeal to y'all for an interpretation, in which case we go through something similar to this. I do my presentation, I show you what the code says, what my interpretation is, and whatever additional resources I have. Then whomever it is that's filing for the appeal would have their opportunity out front to be able to rebut that and give you their interpretation, their sources. And then registration required. This is establishing through the National Electrical Code what is required for them to be able to obtain a permit. Or not a permit, to register with the city. Electrical license and registration continued. This section here actually starts making references to licenses, municipal licenses. The state of Texas has not issued municipal electrical licenses in probably about 35, 40 years. Back before the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, every city issued their own electrical licenses. When TDLR came on board, they started accepting municipal licenses to be able to issue a state license. So somebody who had a master electrician license issued by the city of Coppell would be able to file with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation for a Texas master license, utilizing that city-issued license as evidence that they meet all the requirements for a master electrician. That went on for several years. Once they finished that portion of it, you can't do that anymore. All licensure now is identified by the TDLR, and that's all through the Texas Occupations Code. So that is why this section is just gone. That's why there's nothing on the left. We're not making references to municipal licenses anymore because they don't exist. Application for registration. This just identifies what our requirements are. I have inserted the portion of a copy of liability insurance, minimum of $1 million coverage, because at present, in order to figure that out, you actually have to go to Public Works. I don't want our customers, our contractors have to go from our website, or our portion of the website, identifying what the requirements are, and jump over to Public Works to find out additional requirements. That puts all of our requirements all in one easy to read and identify location. What do I need? Master license, form picture identification, business identification, and copy of liability insurance, minimum $1 million coverage. Quick and easy, all in one location. Issuance and term of registration, that just establishes it's only good for a year. And transfer of registration, it is unlawful, and that's always been in here. The revocation of registration, this is same as original except for subsection C, threatening or abusive behavior to city staff or city representatives. I've added that in simply because it is an issue, unfortunately. I can't allow my staff to be repeatedly abused verbally by contractors. So I am inserting this as last ditch effort. If we can't get somebody to at least be civil and be professional with our staff, then yes, we will revoke their registration with the city. They will not be able to obtain permits with the city, which means they are not able to perform any work that requires a permit or inspections. Essentially, they can't work in our city anymore. In which case, they would be able to appeal it to y'all. So they'd be able to take to the BSC. Yes.
So who makes that decision, and how do you measure the guardrails of what triggers that?
That'd be me.
Okay. But, and then if they disagree, they bring it back to this committee?
Yes, if they want to appeal the revocation, then they would take it to you all. No matter what, our practice is to try and work with everybody.
Yep.
I've been yelled at by the best. And sometimes it takes 3 or 4 times, and they finally get out of their system whatever they've got in their system, and then we're able to get beyond it, and everything's great. Sometimes they just won't get beyond it, though. And I'm adding this in here as just a ditch effort.
Is there a time frame for that revocation?
Because if this one person shows up once a year for a permit, and it's 3 years in a row that we've had the exact same issue with this one individual, then that's gonna be about the same.
And so based on that, the fee that they have to pay every year to have an active license, it's non-refundable, right?
Well, that's the nice thing, is for electricians, there is no light registration fee, and that came through by
Okay.
state law. Originally, I just started out with plumbers, and then after several years, electricians going, hey, how come plumbers don't have to pay registration fees?
Okay,
Well, the state said, all right, fair is fair, you guys don't have to do it either.
okay.
And they started to implement that for mechanical contractors, but us as a municipality had already waived the fees for mechanical contractors. So when we started waiving the registration fees for electricians, we started waiving them for mechanical contractors as well. So a state licensed contractor, mechanical, electrical, or plumbing, they're already paying an annual fee to renew their licenses, so we're not charging them any additional fees.
Okay, so then, so can you go back one slide then? What do they have to do for 1 year? How, like, because it just says requirements and payments of any applicable fees assessed, specified by the city of Coppell.
Yeah, because
So
the
those
whole
fees.
idea for them to register is so we know who's working in town.
Yeah,
And we become familiar with them.
yeah,
It's a way to keep track of people
okay.
that are working in our town.
Yeah, and that makes total sense.
But
So
so
those
the
fees.
reference to the
Yeah.
master fee schedule
Yeah.
is just in case that changes. If
Okay.
the state law changes, then we already have something in place to where only change it in one location.
Mm-hmm,
So if the state comes back and says, okay, you guys can start charging fees again, I've already got the reference to the master fee schedule, so all we have to do is update the master fee schedule.
okay.
I don't have to update the master fee schedule, then come back and update this as well.
Okay, so this is just saying refer to this master fee schedule, and if that master fee schedule says $0, then it's $0 that they have to worry
Well,
about.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So I've got one location to update should laws change.
got it. And if it does change, just in the future, and it's like $100, if their license is revoked from us, is that $100 refunded based on duration of license activity, or
So,
would it be non-refundable, basically? Your license got revoked because you were butthead to the people of the city?
let's change it from an electrical contractor to a roofer.
Sure,
So a roofing contractor comes in, starts trying to throw down with a couple of folks, we end up having to call the police, they get hauled off. A week later, they come back, same thing happens. A week later, it's come back, same thing happens. It's like, all right, 3 strikes you're done, dude. That's 3 attempts to try and physically assault a city employee. Your registration is revoked.
yeah.
That revocation is period. They're done.
No refund.
Yeah, they want to come back a year later, 2 years later, and try to get reinstated. I'm gonna make them come to y'all.
Okay. And then if in our, because I'm just thinking ahead that if that were to happen and it comes to us and they're like, well, I was only active for 6 months, I want the last 6 months of my money back, well, what recourse do we then have when we're looking at the situation to say either yes or no, that's not an option?
Because that's controlled by the fee schedule.
Okay,
If you pay the fee, it's like when you pay a building permit fee, you don't get a refund on it because you
Yeah.
finished early. You get 6 months, that's the cost of coming in the door.
okay, so the fee schedule then covers any like refundability questions, we don't
Yeah.
have to now search for something
Yeah, I
to
know.
say yes or no to them getting money back.
They wouldn't be, because that'd be a decision at the manager's office.
Okay.
If that were to occur, probably in all likelihood, so.
Okay.
And no matter what, our registration fee is $75, and that is administrative fee.
Yeah.
We did our portion, we
Yeah.
did our administrative
Oh,
portion.
no, I don't think they should get any of it back. I just know there's some people in the world who would ask for it. So I
We
just
do.
wanna know if we're able to be like, no, refer to this, that's not a question that is even applicable to our decision making.
No, we have
Okay.
people like Bob referenced where it's like, yeah, we thought this was gonna take us 8 months and it only took us 3, and hey, can we get any of that permit feedback? No? Sorry, dude.
Okay, cool, so we don't have to worry about that then.
It's the cost of playing around the golf. If you don't finish, you don't get a refund.
Alright, so getting beyond the revocation of registration, this is where we're actually a little bit more stringent than state law. The required signage on a vehicle is already established by state law. It's a little redundant for us to have it in here, but it has been an issue in the past, so rather than just leaving it up to the state, I'm keeping it in here. Next part is subsection 8, which is supervision. That has always been part of our electrical ordinance. This is above what the state requires. State allows for an apprentice electrician to be able to run a project on their own. We always have and still require that at minimum, a licensed journeyman electrician has to be on the job supervising.
While the work is happening.
So long as work is occurring, there has to be a journeyman electrician on site.
They can't just drive in, check something, drive away somewhere else, like while someone's pulling cable.
I have never, ever told an inspector, oh yeah, the licensed guy is at the parts store. I never did that. Exemptions from licensing and registration. This has been streamlined a little bit. It's also been brought into compliance with state law. Since ours was originally verb, Texas Occupations Code changed, and they changed how a individual or what individuals can do work under what conditions. So we absolutely do allow for homeowners to do their own work. However, the work has to be done by the property owner in a building owned and occupied by them as their homestead. It means there is their primary residence. The homestead has absolutely nothing to do with tax registrations. I know that he uses the word homestead in tax registrations. Anybody can get that? I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is that they meet this criteria, which is the same in state law. It has to be in their name, and it has to be occupied by them as their primary residence. That makes it their homestead. If it is owned underneath an LLC or a trust or anything like that, you don't meet the requirements of the state. It cannot be in a trust, it has to be in your name, and it has to be your primary residence in order for you to be the actual owner. If it's in a trust, doesn't matter who owns the trust owns it, not you. It is not your residence. And the TDLR agrees with that 100%.
Wait, so that's a change from what was previously approved?
So if you read through electric done by subsection 5, electrical work done by a property owner or building owned, occupied by them, and classified as their homestead, so the verbiage is the same. But that is an issue that we have frequently here. We frequently have a lot of homes that are in a trust or something like that, and sorry, that is not the same.
But, sorry, because you're gonna ask us to approve these changes, right? But is it an actual change from what's in place today, or is you just kind of restating what's already there?
I was basically rereading what's already there, but because it's such an issue, I was bringing it up.
Okay, but it's not something that someone who's got a house that's in a trust today is gonna say, after this is approved, that you guys changed the rules.
Right.
The rules stayed the same. You're just
So-
reiterating for everybody to know this is what's actually on the books.
Well, this is already in our ordinance, so if we stick with the ordinance, it'll look like it is on the right. If we change the ordinance, it'll look like what it is on the left.
So you're just taking out 3 things from the right.
Yeah, so it's consolidation, the installation, alteration, or repairing of any wiring, devices, or equipment for signaling, remote control, or the transmission of information provided such as inherently power limited and have a maximum nameplate rating not exceeding 1 volt ampere. And you can see that as number 2. Replacement of lamps, fuses, and connection of portable devices to suitable receptacles which have been permanently installed. I deleted that because that's a little redundant. That doesn't need to be there. Installation, alteration requiring any wiring, devices, or equipment of signaling, remote control, or transmission of information. Number 2 is there. Installation, alteration, repair, electrical wiring, devices, appliances, equipment installed by or for an electrical public service corporation. That has absolutely no reason to be in our ordinance.
They just took 5 as actually B now,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
and 4 is out. And you
But we can still replace our own ceiling fans, right?
got, yeah.
So long as it's like-for-like replacement. If it is not a like-for-like replacement, permits are required. Got no reason for that, which I just gave at my electrical dissertation at the library a couple months back, is because most ceiling light boxes are not rated for the weight of a ceiling fan.
Yeah.
And we actually have had a lot of injuries where somebody took out a regular dome light, put up a ceiling fan, and yeah, after a while, that ceiling fan landed on them, so.
Got it.
But other than that,
If it is a like-for-like replacement, no harm, no foul. If it is not a like-for-like replacement, it has to be permitted and inspected. Application for the permit, we've already identified all of that, so this section was redundant and has been deleted. Electrical license and registration continued, plans and specifications. I've shrunk it down to make it a little bit easier, especially by getting rid of the reference to practice of engineering as required by Article 3271A of Vernon's Annotated Texas Statutes. That has not been a thing since 1927. I had to look it up. Information on plans and specifications, that's the same. Permit issuance, that verbiage is the same. Validity of permit, that's the same. I got rid of the retention of plans section, subsection 9 on the right. The reason for getting rid of that is because that's already dictated to us by state law. By state law, any work performed on a commercial structure has to be retained for the life of that structure. We don't have a choice on it. So no matter what we have in here, state law says we gotta keep it so long as that building exists. Residential construction, state law says that we only have to retain it for 1 year after completion of the project. However, in order to provide better customer service to our customers, we try to at least maintain one set of plans, which is the city-approved plans, moving forward as we're trying to shrink down the amount of data that we hold. We're going to try to hold on to at least one set of plans per residential permit, so that way 10, 15 years from now, somebody wants to do some work on their home, and hey, any chance you guys got some plans on my house? As a matter of fact, we do. So that helps out our residents. Expiration, this simply sets it up for expiring the same as any other building permit, 180 days after basically each action is taken. Suspension or revocation of the permit, and then permit fees as per the master fee schedule.
So can there be like a building permit hold and then, or I guess issued, and then an electrical permit issued 6 months later, and then the electrical permit is valid for longer than the previous permit?
Really, that would be very specific to whatever is going on.
Okay.
If somebody's doing a residential alteration permit, the electrical can't be separate from that. It's going to be part and parcel of that residential alteration permit. However, if, let's say, somebody's got a residential alteration permit for their kitchen, but separately they've got an electrician coming through and putting solar panels, then yeah, that solar panel is not associated with that remodel. So one could expire and not affect the other in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Why there is no limitation on the extension of a permit after 180 days? You know, you said somebody can extend it for 15 years.
Well, I will not allow it to extend for 15 years. My personal practice is I'll give you one. I'll give you one extension. If you need another extension, I'm gonna ask you to meet with me and try to identify what exactly the hurdles are in this project and what we can do to try and prevent those hurdles from happening.
Okay, so you allow for one extension and you need a valid reason?
No matter what, I need a valid reason at each request. I've only had one that was required to be extended more than once, and that one was a very special project, so other than that, yeah, in the last more than a decade, I've only ever really had one.
But if we didn't have that in there, people would go to get a permit, not do the work. Let's take the house that got torn down, right, on 631. One of the fears we have is they'd pull a permit, not do the work, and we'd be right back where we were back in February. So what Steve does is makes them say, you get one extension, but I'm not even gonna give you that extension unless you're actually doing the work. So to keep people from just getting permits and not doing the repairs, because then they do come and see you when their house isn't fixed up, and then it becomes uninhabitable.
I thought there was a way, if you failed the inspection, it automatically extended the permit.
So, it's 180 days from every action taken. So if we come out on an inspection and it's failed or it's passed, that still resets that 180-day clock.
Without written request?
Yeah, because you're not requesting an extension for a permit, you are still actively going through that permit. However, if you call us out 3 times for the same inspection and you still haven't remedied it or taken care of it, well, that's additional fees. If it is a particular process going on, especially with mitigating something that's coming from a BSC order or code enforcement order, something of that nature, then that's gonna have different requirements. We're gonna have benchmarks that you guys have, or that the homeowner or property owner has to meet on certain dates. We did that with one particular property about 2 years ago. We told him, okay, this is your schedule. You have to have this done by this date, you have to have this done by this date, and you have to have the job completed by this date. You are not getting any extensions. You can request them all you want, you're not getting them.
So you do have ways of stopping people from gaming the system?
We have hurdles. If somebody is really, really savvy and knows what they're doing, there's no way to stop them from gaming the system. We end up having to take that to court. But all we can do is make deterrents and keep the honest people honest. That's about it. We try to pick what battles we throw down for.
But, we did that where we declared property substandard, and we give them a schedule. And they have to come back and see you if they don't need it.
Okay.
I mean, we have some things in place, but and Steve does a great job of that, but people do game the system, or try to.
Yeah.
So.
This is my 3rd municipality, and my first and my second municipality that I worked for, each one had one individual who was really, really good at gaming the system. He'd been doing it for decades. And in each instance, it ended up becoming a court case. They were only able to game the system for so long before it caught up to them. Inspections, general is the same. Inspection requests, I've tweaked the verbiage a little bit, but it's not a big change. It shall be the subsection 2 on the right, inspection requests. It shall be the duty of the person doing the work authorized by a permit to notify the chief building official or designee that each work or that such work is ready for inspections. And I just verbed it a little bit, and it shall be the duty of the permit holder to request the scope of work to be inspected through the appropriate process. Every request for inspection must be filed at least 1 working day before such inspection is desired. It shall be the duty of the permit holder to provide access to and means for proper inspection of such work. So really all I did is clean up the verbiage a little bit and left it to administrative processes rather than codifying what our administrative processes are. I just made reference to our administrative practices, so if we have to make changes, I don't have to come back to you all for those administrative changes. Other inspections the same. The operation of electrical equipment, subsection 3 on the right, got rid of that one because there's no reason for it to be in there. The requirements of this section shall not be construed to prohibit the operation of any electrical system or equipment installed to replace existing equipment. That's kind of contradictory to what we do for a living. So I really don't think that that's a good portion for us to maintain. And then section for re-inspections, that remains the same. Service connections, connection approval, that verbiage is the same. Temporary connections, that verbiage is about the same. And authorized connections, I got rid of the last couple sentences there. Only authorized employees of the purveyor shall be permitted to make connection between the customer's service entrance conductors and purveyor's lines. That's not anything that we get involved in. I've got tons and tons and tons of electricians that are, I guess that they are still young at heart, because they absolutely will grab onto a purveyor's lines and do a disconnect, reconnect all on their own with those live conductors that will end their life in an instant. If that's what they want to do, all more power to them. That is an issue between them and the purveyor. If Encore or CoServe doesn't want them messing with their conductors, I'll leave that between the two of them.
Does this apply to EV chargers that you have installed in your house? Like the last one?
Well, they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to shut down service of the structure.
No, not to the structure, but if they're like, if they have to rebuild your electrical panel,
If they're doing
put
it,
new breakers in and all that stuff, just because your house is older, they have to.
just about every electrician I know is more than happy to pop a globe out,
Yeah,
pop a meter,
yeah.
if you don't have a disconnect. So that was one of the changes underneath the 2023 National Electrical Code. Previously, you didn't have to have outdoor electrical disconnects for residential structure. You had your panel. That's it. You had your meter, then you had your panel. Well, now underneath the 2023 National Electrical Code, residential structures had to have that same electrical disconnect that you see on the backside of every single commercial property. It's that big gray box with a red handle on it. So now underneath current codes, if they've got their outdoor electrical disconnect, they don't have to do anything with the service company in order to be able to kill service to that panel and do a complete panel upgrade.
Okay.
Me personally, the way we function for the city of Coppell is I am not comfortable making a homeowner pay an electrical contractor to redo their service and redo a service disconnect when all they're doing is a panel upgrade. If all they're doing is a panel upgrade, here's your other requirements. You still have to have arc fault, you still have to have whole house surge protector, but I'm not gonna make you guys put in a service disconnect outside when all you're doing is working inside. Start messing with that. Meter base though, if you're gonna replace a meter base, now you have to put in that local electrical disconnect.
That would be provided though you had your main disconnect in that inside panel.
Maybe,
Not 6 rows of a hand thing, one single disconnect?
maybe.
Okay, just asking.
So that'll be between the electrical contractor and God. If they are able to disconnect that service on their own, do the panel upgrade without a disconnect means, and reconnect that service, and believe me, there are plenty that have done it.
I don't know, this whole Bureau Electrics.
Yep. This portion, I did not change the verbiage, what I changed is the layout. So I just separated out into 2 separate paragraphs instead of one massive run-on paragraph. So where it goes issuance of granting a permit or approval of plan specifications, that's just a separate paragraph now. And then changing up the definitions. You'll see the old definitions on the right. The old definitions on the right also include electrical inspector, master electrician, journeyman electrician, what a modification is, and multiple occupancy building. There's absolutely no reason for any of those to be in there. Whomever an inspector is, we've already addressed that earlier in the code. We don't have to have a definition for it. A definition of what a master electrician is, we don't have to have that anymore. That's handled at the state level. The state says what a master electrician is. State says what a journeyman electrician is. They have their own criteria for that licensure. We don't have to have it. The multiple occupancy building, that's defined in the National Building Code. We don't need it defined in here as well. And then where it says electrical code, change that to state 2026 instead of 2023. Then going into the actual amendments of the electrical codes itself. I have removed all amendments to the National Electrical Code. What I'm proposing for adoption of the 2026 National Electrical Code is the electrical code as printed by the National Fire Prevention Agency. So we do not have any local amendments that I'm proposing for. So the approval portion, that's already been taken care of in our ordinance in earlier sections. Garages, this is one of our requirements, is in each attached garage and each detached garage with electric power, at least one receptacle outlet shall be installed for each car space. That's already in the National Electrical Code, we don't need it. Changing Article 310.15B7, shall not be used in conjunction with 220.82. Well, you know what, that hasn't been relevant since the 2023 code. All those sections have changed underneath the 2026, we don't need it anymore. Article 500.8A3, evidence acceptable of the authority having jurisdiction such as manufacturer's self-evaluation or an owner's engineered judgment signed and sealed by a qualified registered professional engineer. All that already exists. We don't need to have an amendment to that ordinance. State law says that we can accept documents from a professional engineer. So there's no reason for us to have any of these changes. No matter what, and speaking as someone who started out as a contractor, I guarantee you, none of the contractors open the code book. If they do, that is the only thing they open. There is no contractor that goes, you know, today's Tuesday, I'm gonna look up what City Coppell has. Today's Wednesday, I'm gonna look up what City Louisville has. They don't. They go out, they do their job according to the National Electrical Code, and then they look to see whether or not they got a green tag. If they got a green tag, fantastic. If they got a red tag, they'll make whatever changes are necessary. But no electrician who is making money has the time to sit and read through every single amendment of every single municipality they work in. There's too many of us, too many of them, too much going on. They learn through red tags. By us sticking to just what the National Electrical Code already has, I am not trying to second guess. Every engineer and professional electrical designer has already put in through the National Electrical Code. We're sticking to what professionals who know more about electricity than I ever will have already got through. They've already vetted it. It's already gone through a panel. I don't need to second guess them. The essential electrical systems for hospitals, that's already in the codes. We don't need to have that amendment anymore. Location, ESVSE, which is electrical vehicle chargers. That is an amendment I proposed based on need from what I perceived, such as having seen too many garages with wall damage, and people want to put electrical vehicle chargers in those same locations where I've seen damage inside a garage. Senate bill, what is it? I can't remember the name of the Senate bill now. I believe it's 1252 out of the 89th legislation came down and said that municipalities cannot make amendments. Yeah, Senate bill 1252. Municipalities cannot make amendments to this section of the National Electrical Code. So this has to go away because I can't amend that section of the National Electrical Code. It was determined through actually a lot of perseverance from the attorneys for large corporations that manufacture electrical vehicles, electrical vehicle chargers, and photovoltaic systems, which is solar panels. They petitioned the Senate heavily. And it was through their heavy petitions to the Senate supported the change, and at a state level, that no municipality can make changes in the National Electrical Code. Not for these portions of it. And that's it. That is everything. No, sorry, lied. I forgot. The feeders, the wiring methods, these are already covered in the National Electrical Code. There's no reason for us to have these. Non-metallic sheath cable, which is NM cable, that's all covered in the National Electrical Code. There's no reason for us to have any of this in here. That's old information. This is the other portion. This is why I thought I was done. This is the other portion of it. ESS for 1 and 2 family dwellings, not exceeding 100 volts DC. That was the other portion I amended for vehicle impact protection, and that's included in the Senate bill.
What if it's a battery that's not for vehicle charging?
Doesn't matter. If it is backup power, then
You can't touch it.
it's covered underneath the National Electrical Code. I cannot make amendments to that section of code. But underneath the Senate bill, you do actually have the option of having a licensed electrician do it without benefit of permits for inspections. If you choose to do a second party review and inspections, you can do so, or you can go through the municipality for permits and inspections. That'd be between you and your electrical contractor.
Meaning that if I wanted it put up a certain way, that
Senate Bill 1252 says that you can do so through a licensed contractor without benefit of permits or inspections from any municipality, so long as it appertains to backup power, and that is for generators and batteries. And that's it.
With the kind of gaining popularity of plug-and-play solar panels that don't have to be installed on your roof, they can just be plugged into an outlet outside, does this address any safety measures or restrictions related to those?
No, because those are plug and play, those are external appliances.
Okay.
By law, they have to be listed, which means nationally recognized testing laboratory. Unfortunately, the advent of places such as Amazon and Walmart.com has flooded our markets with unlisted equipment, and that's for the federal government to sort out, not me.
Any other questions? All right. You good?
Good.
Okay, we'll adjourn the work session. Time is now 7:02. Will regular session begin when, y'all want a break or you want to? Okay, let's go open up the regular session.
All right, if you guys don't mind, I'll
All right, 7:05, the regular session of the Building and Standards.
It's not
Okay.
live yet.
We're gonna All right, 7:06, and the Building and Standards Commission for today is now back in session. Time now is 7:06. Item 4, citizens' appearance. There's nobody here to appear, I don't think. So item number 5, approval of the February 5th, 2026 Building and Standards Commission minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read over the minutes?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept them?
Yes, I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve and seconded. All in favor?
Yes.
Raise your hand. Okay. The minutes have passed unanimously. Item number 6, public hearing to be held to consider the adoption of the 2026 National Electric Code with amendments set forth. We had during the work session, Steve had presented all the amendments, and we'd looked them over. Any questions or discussions by the commission?
Also, Mr. Chairman, no one has signed up to speak at the public hearing, so you can entertain a motion after whenever discussion you want.
Okay, thank you. So no one's, okay, so, anyways, any other, if there's no discussions, I can get a motion to recommend adoption of the 2026 National Electric Code and the amendments.
And also close the public hearing.
Oh, yeah, no, excuse me. Let me close the public hearing and open it up to the board.
And I'll state a proposed motion for the commissioners to consider, and after I read it, you can say so moved and seconded, and you can vote.
Thank you.
The motion would be the motion of the Building Standards Commission to make a recommendation for the City of Coppell to amend its Code of Ordinances, Chapter 15, Article 15-4, and adopt the National Electric Code 2026 with the staff recommended additions and amendments.
It's been so moved and seconded. Can I have a vote? All in favor?
Yes.
Raise your hand. Okay, the motion passes. Okay. 6, item number 7. All right, I think that's it. Any other business in front of the Building and Standards Commission?
No, I did state, Mr. Chairman, as a result of your order that you entered back in February 5th, 2026 regarding substandard building. If anyone wants to talk to me about that, I said I would hang around for a minute or so and talk to whoever wanted to talk to me about it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any other questions?
No.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Yes.
All right.